Barefoot Mystery School by Rea Raven, Chapter 1, The Guardian of Atlantis. Before she had language for it, Ostara had water. Not fantasy water, not cinematic oceans crashing against cliffs. Something quieter. A sensation behind her ribs, like tide pulling in and out when she lay still at night. The faint taste of salt when she woke from certain dreams. A coolness along her ankles, even when the room was warm. She did not tell anyone about it. As a child, she assumed everyone carried strange interiors. She assumed other girls lay awake, imagining architecture made of light. She assumed other boys heard music with no visible source, and felt sudden grief for things they could not name. She learned otherwise. Teachers called her imaginative. Friends rolled their eyes. Family members said she was sensitive, sometimes gently, sometimes not. So she adjusted. She learned which parts of herself were conversational and which were not. But the water stayed. The dreams were consistent enough to feel patterned, not random. A city built in spirals, stone that shimmered but did not glitter, moss that held light instead of reflecting it, air that felt intelligent, not mystical, just attentive. She moved barefoot in those dreams, not because it was poetic, because it was practical. Shoes felt wrong there, like static. In the dream, she tended things, not ruled, not preached. She moved through open corridors and gardens carved into cliffside rock, placing her palms against walls as if checking for fever. Listening more than speaking. There were others, elders, children, quiet men who watched before answering. No crowns, no spectacle, just responsibility. And under the beauty, a subtle imbalance, a strain, a reaching. The dream never shouted catastrophe. It suggested drift. The kind of drift that happens when people begin calling extraction progress. When brilliance outruns reverence. She never woke exhilarated. She woke grieving. One night, the sentence arrived clean and sharp, without ornament. This world will fall, and you will rise again. She sat up in bed, breath shallow. Not fear, recognition, which disturbed her more. By morning, it felt embarrassing. Grand, dramatic, the kind of thing unstable people claimed. She made coffee, answered emails, put on jeans. The world resumed its reasonable proportions. But something in her body had tightened. She never declared she believed in Atlantis. She didn't collect books about it, didn't join forums, didn't mention it in casual conversation. The word lived privately, like a scar beneath clothing. It wasn't about a lost continent. It was about pattern. Beauty forgetting humility. Power outpacing listening. Communities drifting because no one wanted to question momentum. That she could see everywhere. In corporations calling extraction innovation. In wellness influencers selling transcendence. In people speaking of connection while avoiding discomfort. Sometimes, watching it, she felt a flare of irritation. We've done this before, she would think, not as memory of a place, as memory of a mistake. She never said it out loud, but the thought carried weight. When her mind grew loud, she took off her shoes. It began casually, bare feet on hardwood floors. The relief surprised her, a small exhale in her nervous system. Then grass, then soil, then gravel, tolerating its sharpness instead of avoiding it. She told herself it was grounding, regulation, biology, but part of her resisted reducing it to a nervous system trick. The ground did not need explanation. It simply held. And in that holding, she felt something steady. The earth remembers. It was a thought she did not fully examine. It felt true. One morning she stood at the kitchen window with nettle tea warming her hands. Mist moved low over the field behind the house. Not mystical, just weather. The kind that clung until sunlight insisted otherwise. She had dreamed of water again. Spirals, stone, bare feet. She set the mug down and stepped outside without shoes. The cold boards shocked her awake. Dew soaked into her skin almost immediately. The yew tree at the edge of the property had been there longer than any of them. It did not radiate wisdom. It simply stood. She pressed her back to its bark and closed her eyes. At first there was only sound. Birds, wind, a distant car. Then something shifted. Not externally, but in her attention, as if she had moved from thinking to listening. The words did not boom. They did not glow. They arrived underneath a thought. We remember you. Her breath caught. Heat rose in her palms, the same warmth she felt when she placed her hands on stone walls or leaned against cliffs near the sea. She almost laughed at herself. This is projection, she thought. Pattern making. But she did not move. She placed her hands against the moss at the tree's base. There was no lightning, no vision, just pulse. You kept the flame. That part unsettled her. Kept what flame? She had done nothing extraordinary. She paid rent, forgot appointments, avoided confrontation more often than she liked. And yet the sensation persisted. Not praise, not prophecy, recognition. Her eyes filled. Not because she believed she had once lived in a luminous city, because she recognized the grief. The grief of watching people disconnect from what sustains them and calling it success. The grief of witnessing brilliance without reverence. Atlantis, she realized, was not a claim. It was a warning. She opened her eyes. The grove looked ordinary. Moss, bark, thinning mist. No shimmer, no council of elders, just morning. But something inside her had aligned. Not destiny, direction. She did not yet know about gatherings, or circles, or the way a simple act like removing shoes could become language. She only knew that when she listened, truly listened, she felt less fractured. And that, perhaps, other people did too. The thought flickered, small but charged. What if others are remembering this? It was not humble. It was not grand. It carried the faintest edge of ownership, as if she had stumbled onto something ancient and personal at once. She noticed the thought, and did not dismiss it. She rose and brushed soil from her palms. The world beyond the grove waited. Errands, obligations, unanswered messages. Nothing mythic about it. But beneath the ordinary surface of things, she sensed a quiet current. Not lost. Waiting. She pressed her palm once more against the yew tree. Not in worship, just acknowledgement, and walked back toward the house, feet darkened by earth. Behind her, the grove returned to silence. Ahead, the day began. And beneath her measured steps, a steady, almost practical certainty settled. If beauty fractures when it forgets to listen, then listening is work, and someone has to do it.